We're in the big week of the Mag 7 tech earnings, not to mention 8 days out from the election, 10 days out from the FOMC meeting. So I wanted to bring our focus into two companies reporting on Wednesday, October 30th. So we have Microsoft and Meta. So we'll start with Microsoft. So I've dialed the chart back to the first earnings report of the year. We're going to just get our bearings and what's happened here in 2024, and then I'll share my outlook for what might happen ahead. If you're new here, I'm Hema Reddy. I use price action, candlesticks like these, market timing, that's forecasting, and momentum, my favorite indicator, the RSI power zones down below, to boost my trading and that of our tribes. So as I said, we'll kind of get our bearings of what happened. So the first earnings report release of the year was on January 30th, and you can see that with Microsoft, it doesn't tend to make these huge gaps in one way or another. It had a correction lower, continued its trend higher, got a little slower, but still maintained that. And then the next earnings release on April 25th, there was a gap higher, but it didn't change the pre-existing downtrend until a little bit later on, and then it started resuming in May. All of that took us up to new highs, and then the next earnings release on July 30th, which was in the midst of a downtrend. So all that happened was the trend continued lower, and now here we are with the upcoming October 30th, and we are in a uptrend. So given that Microsoft has had essentially a steady uptrend, but over like a wide range, especially since August, here's what I'd be watching for, okay? I'd watch for some key price action levels. So based on the fact that the price action is currently capping out in the bear resistance power zone and showing a disconnect between price and momentum, it's a very minor pattern, but it does have an impact. I think there's room for shares to slide lower. Now again, we're 2 days out from the earnings release, and we're in a very volatile environment. So you've got to put your own trading strategy into effect. Don't just blindly trade what I am thinking is going to happen. I'm just sharing based on my years of experience. I think that whatever weakness would unfold is likely to be pulled towards 415.66. That's the old high from October 8th, which right now is providing a nice price low, an area of support. However, it is not defining the uptrend off August 5th yet because we haven't had a new high over September 17th. So really, it's this range back here from September 6th. That's the key support, but I think in the short term, decent chance of getting down to 415.66. All right, now let's look at Meta. So for Meta, I've done the same thing. I've dialed back to the beginning of the year. I've posted when we had earnings releases so we can get a feel for what happened. All right, so there was this uptrend in motion, earnings release, and the major gap higher. So Meta, Facebook, has a tendency to have much stronger reactions to its earnings. Not every single time, but a lot. And you can see that that coincided with a push right into the bull resistance power zone. Market remained higher as it worked off overbought conditions. Went sideways for a bit, kept going, and then on the earnings release regarding Q1 data happening on April 24th, we had a big gap lower. So this is a reminder that earnings gaps aren't in one direction. It depends on the other factors surrounding the action at the time. Obviously, the results of the earnings, the specifics, the guidance, everything else. All right, let's bring ourselves to the summer when we had the earnings release that was shared on July 30th for Q2. That had a big gap higher, but it was within the context of sort of this sideways box that's been in place between 540 and 440 essentially. So not a huge new directional move, pulled back essentially to July 25th, then resumed the uptrend. Now, what I'm showing you here, this intersection of these purple lines, is the crosshairs essentially of a forecast. So what's cool is there was a forecast for price and time to meet right at that intersection. You can see how close it got, and that forecast would have been able to be calculated as early as the completion of the September 12th range. So plenty of lead time, okay? This is why I say it's so important to learn my loss forecasting techniques, because you can use them even on these Mag 7 markets. All right, so with that history of that forecast, which I'll now remove, we're coming into that October 30th earnings. There is a little more strength in Meta, okay? So we can see this movement from bull support to bull resistance back to bull support. we can see that there has been a corrective move in price, but it hasn't given back much. Definitely not half of the rise from the September 11th low. And what's even more wild is that as soon as the confirmation of this October 7th high, when price action started breaking below it on October 9th, you could have been prepared for this forecast here, which was a magnet pulling price down and to the right into the date of October 24th, which is exactly when we have our most recent low, and the price of 554.32. You can see how close we got, down to 571.72, and that the price action held above the forecasted level. So this feeds into the cycles in this market being stronger than this cycle measured, which leads to the opportunity for a new forecast. Would you like to see it? All right, here you go. There's now a new forecast for Meta shares to trade up into about 668.87 by November 19th. Okay, so it's not tomorrow. It's got some time to it. And this forecast could have been calculated as early as Friday, October 25th. Now, here's some important clarifiers. I would only consider taking any bullish action trading into that forecast if and only if we get a daily bar close to break above 585. That's the October 23rd high. Because you basically need bulls to resume the uptrend after this corrective weakness. Okay. The other thing is that this forecast is only valid while above this low at 561.52 from October 24th. So if we get any weakness below that level, whether it's intraday, a daily close, if there's any price action below 561.52 between now and November 19th, you got to remove this forecast from your chart and reevaluate, right? So the rules behind that are all taught in my loss forecasting trading system. I'm just showing you how forecasts can be applied to current action. Remember, the earnings date is here at October 30th, which may feed into some volatility. So there you have it, my take on Meta and Microsoft. If you found value in this video, please go ahead and give it a like down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Drop a comment if you have any insights to share or want to make a request for a ticker you'd like to see me review. Please do, and I'll catch you soon.